Well, this is pretty scary. A government watchdog group is reporting a, quote, significant breach in aviation security after it was revealed that the TSA let a convicted felon and a former member of a domestic terror group pass through a pre-screened airport security check. CNN aviation and government regulation correspondent Renee Marsh following this story. It sort of is baffling, Renee. How did this happen?
Absolutely, and I can tell you that this watchdog group isn't happy about this. The Department of Homeland Security's Office of Inspector General is sounding the alarm because they say this felon and former domestic terror group member was given expedited screening at a U.S. airport just last summer. Now, PreCheck, as you know, Brianna, it is a less stringent screening process, usually reserved for low-risk passengers. You get to keep your shoes on, you keep on, the laptop can stay in the bag. The report says that the traveler, who was involved in numerous criminal activities, some of them involved explosives, also murder, this person was allowed that expedited screening. So how did this happen? Well, you know, you can apply for PreCheck or you're randomly picked for PreCheck. In this particular case, he was randomly picked based on biographical information he provided to the airline, and TSA also ran his name through databases like the no-fly list. His name did not appear on those lists, but the TSA is being scolded here for essentially allowing a virtually unknown passenger through PreCheck, and unknown when you consider just how much information people who actually apply for the program have to provide, like fingerprints and criminal background, Brianna.
Yeah, and I've done it, and you basically have an interview, too. I mean, it's a pretty stringent process you go through. So how does the TSA address this? How do they make sure that this doesn't become a norm or that it isn't the norm?
Well, the TSA is standing firm on the fact that this man's name was not on the no-fly list. They say if his name wasn't on the list, that must mean that he was not an aviation security threat. The agency said in a statement that all passengers are essentially screened, and they said there are multiple layers when it comes to security. So they're standing firm here that because his name wasn't on the list, that is the list that they use to determine who's okay and who's not.
Okay, well, I don't find that. I imagine many people don't find that particularly comforting. Renee Marsh, thank you so much. I want to get into this a little more with Congressman Bennie Thompson. He's a Democrat from Mississippi, and he's the ranking member of the Committee on Homeland Security for the House of Representatives. So, Congressman, I mean, you just heard this report. You know all about this. How is this possible? I understand that he's not on the no-fly list. He's a convicted murderer. He's a former member of a domestic terror group. How is he allowed to go through that TSA PreCheck line?
Well, first of all, he should not have been allowed to get into the PreCheck list. He should have gone in the regular passenger line. He should not have been afforded the courtesy of being in PreCheck.
Do you think that this is a failure on the part of the TSA?
Oh, there's no question it's a failure on the part of the PreCheck system. The problem is TSA is trying to defend what they did. What I plan to do is offer legislation to make sure that this does not happen again. It was unfortunate that a whistleblower had to bring this to our attention and not our system. If this person had applied through regular PreCheck, then he would have been turned down. He would not have been denied the right to fly on a plane, but we would have known that this person had a history that was suspect, and we would take notice. Now, the other problem is, even when the whistleblower saw this person, he had no authority to deny that person the right to get on the plane. And so that's a problem also.
And yeah, so you have this watchdog report, and it's saying that the felon was spotted by an eagle-eyed agent, but otherwise no one noticed. Do you think that this is just the one incident that we've seen, and there may be other lapses like this?
Well, there's no question that this managed inclusion program needs to be fixed, and that's how he got into the PreCheck line anyway. My legislation will do away with that, take the guessing out of it, require science, would require running databases against those individuals, so that the only people who are in PreCheck will be those individuals who have been vetted, and not somebody who look at somebody who's traveling and say, get in the PreCheck line. That's not security.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, before I had TSA PreCheck, I would occasionally be allowed to go into the PreCheck line. I loved it. It was great, but I sort of wondered what I was doing there. And we know that you're introducing this bill next week.
And we plan to fix it.
Yeah. All right. We'll be waiting to see this bill that you introduced. Congressman Bennie Thompson, thank you so much. And